let's get started. And I think, and again, like I said, because of the nature of the concept of love, is a very, very, very complex word. Uh, it will fall under being a noun, a person, place, or thing, or an idea, or very abstract idea such as love, happiness, and things of that sort. So again, but however, you do have what they call romantic love. You have romantic love, whereas you're talking about an individual, two individuals, be it male or male and female, and then we have some type of family type of bond, type of relationship love, and then we have friendship love, and we have all these sorts of different type of love. But those loves would fall under the personal. They would fall under a personal type of perspective love, because we are talking about being in love with a person. And so when we're talking about I love you, I love my wife, I love my kids, I love my boyfriend, I love my girlfriend, we're talking about a dualistic perspective of love. And what I'm talking about today here is I'm talking about a holistic, a non-separation, a being perspective of love. So again, which is more of an impersonal perspective of love. Those loves that I mentioned before, again, uh, the relationship, the relationship love that you have with your family, your friends, and your romantic relationships. Those are all those are all dualist perspectives. Whereas you love the person, they love you. You are separate from the person is separate from you. But that is not the type of love that I will be talking about today mainly. However, I will talk about many different other aspects of that separation love, if I may say. But mainly I'm trying to talk about, again, from a non-dualist perspective and an Advaita Vedanta perspective, what is love? So, and again, so what from an Advaita Vedanta perspective, they would say that the meaning of love, the meaning of love is to see no otherness in the world. And that is the definition of love from a non dualist perspective, to see no otherness in the world. And that may sound somewhat simple, but that is a very, very, very deep and complex uh, concept as well, because what that simply means is that we are not loving a person, we are loving the being of that person. And that is very much different from what we are used to talking about. I love you, you love me. Again, family type of love, a romantic type of love, or friendship type of love, or just a platonic type of love. Whatever the love may be between two individuals, that is not the same thing as no uh, otherness in the world. When I said no otherness in the world, this concept was again uh, did not originate in the Bible. Again, the Hindus' perspectives, the Upanishads, and so forth, the Vedas. Again, 1500, 2,000 years ago, way before the Bible even came about, spoke about this oneness and God is love. But they didn't actually use the word God per se, because that is a more of a Western term. But you would hear more so of the terms used as consciousness, awareness. Those are the terms usually used. Awareness is love. God, awareness is love. Consciousness is love. And more from a religious perspective, God is love. So, so like I said, there's different types of love, and most cases, most individuals, when they think about love or when they talk about love, they tend to talk about personal loves. I love you, you love me, I love my sister, I love my aunt, I love my brother, I love my friend, I love my mother, I love my wife or my husband. All of those love or personal loves, those loves are I, related to the I, related to I. There's a separation between you and the other that you love. This type of love that I'm referring to, there is no separation. Like I said, this is more so of a dualistic perspective about love. So that's why I'm trying to build some type of foundation. Yes, I know individuals want everything handed on a platter. Now, give me this, give me that.
However, I must build some type of foundation to get individuals to understand from the get go the difference of the love, the type of love that you may be used to. This love is a completely different type of love. As I go on, we'll get that picture will become a lot more clearer as well.
Again, I know this might be a lot that I'm kind of just throwing out there. But again, as time going, I'm going to break this video down more and more. But again, it's such a very deep, deep, deep subject matter. I cannot just give you, because again, like I said, romantic love is more of a separation type of love. I'm not talking about a separation. I'm talking about loving the being, not the person. When you are in a relationship, again, be it friendship, boyfriend relationship, or romantic, family love, you are in love with a person. You are that is a personal type of love, and there is a separation between you and the individual. This love that I'm referring to, there is no separation, and we are not in love with the person per se. We are in love with the shared being of that person, because from an Advaita Vedanta perspective, again, there is no separation in non-duality, and that's where the whole concept no otherness comes from. So in the non-duality perspective, there is no you, there's no me. On a deeper, deeper level, there's only the oneness, the I-ness, the isness of pure awareness and pure consciousness. So again, a very complex concept to be understood by many in the West. This is a concept that is very strongly known in the Eastern world, but again, in the West, a very difficult concept to conceive of.
Like I was saying, so the difference between this philosophy and the concepts in the West, the East and the West have two totally different concepts. When I love you, you love me. We are talking about two different separate individuals loving each other. From a non dualist perspective, there is no separation because there is no other. We are talking about loving more so from a holistic perspective, seeing the individual as you and they and them seeing themselves as you as well. That's why the Bible also says, "Love thy neighbor as they love thyself." That's what we're talking about. Loving somebody from a being perspective, from a isness perspective, from the core perspective, not so much as a physical, material perspective as well.
So again, with that being said, so today what I'm talking about is I'm not talking about being in love with a person. I am talking about being being love itself, because consciousness is love, awareness is love, and God is love from a religious perspective. And most individuals may ask, how could consciousness be love? How could God be love? But again, like I said before, consciousness, there is no separation in consciousness. There's only consciousness is the fundamental principle that is the only thing that exists, and everything that we see or objects appearing in consciousness, such as myself, the world, the cars, the objects. Again, so I being the subject, the true self, the true I amness of who I am, not so much as the physical body of who I am. That is what I'm talking about, the I amness. That's why the Bible spoke about I am. I am. When God was asked in the mountains, I think it was Moses, if I remember clearly, he said, to tell who do I tell the people to say you are, which name do I give them? And he said, I am that I am. And and again, that is a concept that came way after this Vedanta concepts, the philosophies and the way of life, if I may say, the understanding of true love was portrayed. So again, that I amness that Jesus spoke about, also Jesus, Yeshua, whichever name suits you or you're most comfortable with, when he said, I am the Father or one, he was also referring to that I amness, that I am that is within each and every one of us. When we speak and we said, I am sick, I am this, I am that, we are talking about the isness, the I amness, the beingness of the individual. We're not talking about the objects. We're not talking about I am happy, I am this, I am sad, I am aging. Those things are objects, and there is the subject is the being, the I am isness, because that is the only thing that does not change. Our age changes, our weight changes, our mood changes, uh, everything changes in the physical world, and that's why they are considered objects. But what I'm talking about here today is the subject. The subject is the I amness, the awareness that is aware of being sick, the awareness that is aware of growing older, the awareness or the consciousness that is aware of all things. The awareness that is aware that it is aware is what I'm talking about today. And so, from that perspective, from the awareness perspective, there is no otherness in the world. There is only oneness. There is no you. There is no me. There is no, and this is a very this is again this concept.
And like I said also, the concept that I'm talking about is a very, very different concept from what we've been taught in the West. Because, like I said, there's either when we're talking about non-duality, we are looking at something as either an object or a subject. So the object would be the dog, the cat, the rat, me, you, we are all objects. We are all objects, but from a non-dualist perspective, the subject is the core of the object. The subject is the isness of who you are, the consciousness of who you are. That is what I'm talking about. That non-changeable, that thing that does not get sick, that thing does not get old. Your consciousness does not is not affected by the things happening around you. Your physical body might be affected, your emotions might be affected. However, the life essence that you are is not affected. And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about coming to some type of self realization, understanding who we are first and foremost, and then coming to understand that that thing that I'm talking about is in each and every one of us, and we're loving that thing about ourselves, coming to understand also as well that from a non-dualist perspective that there is really no other. There is no you, there is no me, there's no, again, this is from a non dualistic perspective. This is completely different than what we've been taught in the West. You, I, me, them, us, separation. This concept is we're not talking about the objects, we're not talking about male, female, we're not talking about Mr. and Mrs. We're not talking about him and her and them and they. We are talking about one thing being a part of all of us and loving that one thing inside of all of us that has no discrimination, that has no separation, that does not have any animosity or anything of that sort. That is what we're talking about. Finding out that thing that we truly are and loving that thing that exists in all of us and overlooking or not seeing the object part of us, the color, the creed, the race, and things of that sort as well.
My videos are very usually in most many cases very long because I try to go into great detail about some of these matters that are not so easily uh, understood, so easily. However, like I said before, uh, this is a very complex matter as well. So it's not just as simple as saying, what is love and so forth. But that is why again I'm saying it from a Vedanta concept perspective that I am talking about the shared being that I am, that you are, and that is what that is what I'm talking about. That is not, there is no otherness. So again, when most individuals talk, but I love you, you love me, they are talking about the person. I love the person. And the person would fall under categories. I love your appearance. I love your complexion. I love your body. I love these things are all objects, and these things are also all fleeting, which is why it is very important that we grasp this concept of this oneness, because if we fall in love with these objects, these ever changing things, we will always be disappointed to some degree, more disappointed than not. Because as we age, the individual physical structure will change, we will get disappointed. As the individual mood change, we are going to get disappointed. As the individual finances change, we're going to get disappointed. There's no permanency in this illusory place called the matrix, also known as Maya. So when we put our love into something that is objective and something that is changeable, it is 99.9.9, sorry, 99.99999 guaranteed that there will be some sort of disappointment. no ifs, ands, and but. That is why most individuals who are in uh, dualistic relationships, most individuals are actually unhappy, but they just go through it because they believe that this is how life's supposed to be, and no one, and so they just go on and on. But I guarantee most individuals in relationships, whether they be married or not, are unhappy because they are loving from a dualistic perspective, and they
And like I was saying again, we most of us love from an objective perspective. We love the person or the thing based on some type of physical, material perspective. I love you because you are attractive. I love you because you are pretty. I love you because you are handsome. I love you because you have money. I love you because of the way you make me feel. I love you is something that you do for me per se in the physical realm. I am not talking about that type of love. I'm talking about loving the isness, the I amness of that individual, and that can only be achieved once the individuals see themselves as not being separate from the other. And so again, from this perspective, from non-dualist perspective, anytime we try to find love from get love from some individual from an objective perspective, we are bound to be disappointed. We are bound to be let down. We are bound to be unhappy because most individuals, every individual has flaws. Every individual has, is changing. Everyone is going to get old. The female that you met when she was X amount of age and she was younger, she was very attractive, that is that individual as time go on, she will change as well. And so the same thing also applies with you. You're gonna change as well. Your attitude is gonna change. Your body's gonna change. Things are gonna change. Nothing on this in this earth is permanent. That is why I said when you love the thing that is changeable, it is 99.99999% of the chance that you will be disappointed and you will be unhappy because you fell in love with the wrong thing. You fell in love with the object, the changeable object, not so much as the unchanging isness, the beingness. And again, this concept can only be achieved from understanding what non-duality actually is. That is what I'm saying to you guys. We tend to love a person based on things, not so much as who they are, what they are as being a part of you as well. The part that I'm talking about has no flaws, has no uh, anything negative to say because again we're talking about consciousness, the I amness, the isness. That is what we're talking about. But most individuals love from an object perspective, and like I said, if you love anything, for that matter of fact, from an objective perspective, loving your job, loving anything, is you run the risk of being disappointed and unhappy. That is why, again, the Buddhist their belief system is based on uh, the root cause of suffering is desire. And I'm not saying that you should not have any desire. That's not what I'm saying at all. All I'm simply saying is that the root cause is desire, whatever that desire may be. I desire to have more money. I desire to have a better car. I desire to have more of this. I desire to have more of that. Whatever it is that we desire, the thing that we desire, once we do not have that thing, we run the risk of actually being unhappy in one shape, form, or another. So the goal of the Buddhists is to eliminate desire as much as possible and only seek the unchangeable thing that is the true self, the core self, the I-ness, the isness, and all those things as well. But again, if we are desiring anything in this physical world, the matrix, samsara, Maya, the illusion, I'm not saying that you should not love anything. I'm not saying you should not want anything. I'm not saying you should not have any desire for anything. I'm just simply saying to you is everything is fleeting and it's most likely that you will be disappointed and you will come across some sort of physical disappointment.
they are expecting to find happiness outside of themselves, and which is near impossible because the first place love can be only place could be found is within oneself. And if you don't love yourself, how could you love another if you don't love yourself or display love? You cannot get what you do not deserve. You cannot get what you are not. That's why they said that we don't attract what we want, we attract who we are. So with that being said, if you are a person that has malice or hatred or whatever the case may be inside of you, you will most likely always attract those things because the world gives us a reflection back of who we are inside. Everything that we see comes from within. And so if our life is kind of somewhat chaotic and there's a lot of disturbances and emotional turbulence and different things of that sort, it's not so much as those things are happening outside of us. Those things are also a reflection of what is going on inside of us. And the way this is set up is the universe or whatever you want to call it, the dream world, the dream state, Maya, the matrix. The way it is set up, it's like a mirror. It does not make up anything. It just gives you back a reflection of what is internal. Just like a TV screen does not have a preference to what type of movie it watches. It does not have a preference if it watches a horror movie, a happy movie, a sad movie. It just reflects the movie back, and all the same, and the same thing applies to the world as well. So consciousness also is also impersonal, so it does not have a personal feeling towards. And that is one. Sorry, that is another aspect. Because again, this topic is so big, so wide, and so far and so long. I can't. It's going to be pretty much impossible for me to elaborate on every single subject matter in reference to love. But however, I will do my very best to elaborate as much as I can as thoughts come to me. Because again, this is pretty much once again a freestyle video, just talking on the top of the dome. So again, like I was saying, again, if you do not have self-love, it is going to be impossible for you to love anyone else. And if you do not have self-love, it's going to be impossible for anyone to love you as well. Because if you have secret, deep hatreds in your heart or feelings negative about yourself, what I think it was Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung, they call it the shadow self. If you have all these hidden deep animals and different things inside yourself, and those things may be hidden. You might hide them from the world, but the world will reflect them. You will attract the people that will come in your life that will reflect pain and suffering because that is the energy or the frequency that you vibrate on. And then, therefore, those things will appear into your life as well. So,
So, like I said, it was a very powerful point as well. Like I said, many philosophical, spiritual ideas would say that we do not attract what we want, we attract who we are. So basically, we attract who we are, not what we want. So if you are having self hatred, self doubt, whatever it may be that you feel about yourself, the world would reflect that as well. We would actually see the outside world as more so as a mirror to the inside world as well. So you cannot really love somebody or find love without actually loving yourself first and foremost. Being that example of self love will attract somebody who loves us as well. Yes, we've heard this so many times. This is nothing new that I'm saying about self love and we attracting individuals like ourselves as well. However, yes, it sounds like a cliche per se, but how often do we actually do it? How much of us actually have a self love so deeply in love with ourselves that we actually do not necessarily even need or want anybody else in our life to disrupt our self love because that's what's going to happen over a period of time. When you come to the point where you have such a self love for yourself, such a great desire for yourself, self worth, self care, self discipline, you are not going to want to just take that risk and just throw that away to any Tom, Dick, and Harry. No, you're not just going to go and just give that away to the next male or the next female you meet. No, that's not going to be the case at all. You are going to actually guard your self love, your self, uh, your peace, if I may say, with the utmost caution. So most of us do not even love ourselves to the point that whereas we feel even whole and complete by ourselves. And the reason for that is because we technically do not know ourselves. And so when we come to know ourselves truly who we are, only then we can actually evolve to the place to love somebody else as well, more holistically without having so much, bringing so much baggage to the table and having so much high expectations of others as well, because that is what we tend to do as well. Sometimes we love others, but we have such a high false expectations of these individuals, and that also is a big mistake that we have, because we don't really love ourselves uh, holistically to love somebody else freely, and so that individual could be themselves, and that individual could grow and blossom, and that patient could have that patient, that person could be, you need the patience for that person to grow and to become a better person as well. And that is what I'm talking about. Again, Sigmund Freud, Carl Jung talks about the animal, the shadow, the animal, and all of these different deep parts of ourselves hidden in the psyche. And most of us, again, most of the things we do is actually out of self-hatred as well. So let me go on before I run on too much. I don't want to,
So
give too much
again,
away.
it's not so much as what you do not attract what you want, you attract who you are. So if you are unloving, you will most likely attract unloving people, and then you would always wonder why. Hey, why the word, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening? Is because that is the energy, the frequency that you're giving out, and the universe or God or whatever the case may be, the illusion, matrix, Maya, is just giving you back an exact match of what you are. So until the inside, the internal self changes, there will also always be some type of discomfort and disentanglement in reference to having a holistic and healing relationship with another person as well. So again, with that being said, like I said, today we are talking about an impersonal love. So, and which will bring me to another video. People will say, how could you, you know, love this one and love that one, and how could it not be true? Again, because if you do not love yourself, you cannot love anybody else. It first must start with yourself. However, the unfortunate part is, again, from an Advaita Vedanta perspective, uh, we are talking about this I self, this isness of the self. Most individuals do not know who they are, and which also would take some type of reflection, some type of internal uh, inquiry, self inquiry, to find out who the true self really is. And then, after the true self is found, only then we can look into other loving other individuals. And that's the only way that this concept that I'm talking about, the see no otherness in the world, could be understood. Because once there is otherness in the world, there will always be some type of issue going on with the self and the false self. So with that being said, I think the water's coming up kind of close. I think I need to move closer to shore here. I'll move in a different spot, different angle. But anyhow, like I was saying, so it is very difficult. It's very difficult to love somebody if you do not have any self-love for yourself. In fact, I would say it is impossible for you to even love yourself without knowing yourself. That is why I think it was I can't remember the guy, Rene Descartes. I think it was Rene Descartes who said, uh, "To know thyself." I think, therefore I am. Correct. I think that's what it is. I think, therefore I am. And again, that is also a concept of knowing thyself. But again, that is where meditation and things of that sort has to come into place. Self-inquiry, and most people again think meditation is something that we do for bliss and happiness and stilling the mind and so forth. Yes, those are also benefits of meditation. Those are side effects of meditation. However, the true goal of meditation is internal self-reflection, to understand and to know thyself, the true I am, the true isness of thyself.
So I hope we are starting to get some type of understanding here of where we're going with this. We're talking about coming to know thyself, knowing who you are, what you are, the true isness of yourself. And again, like I said, we have two different type of loves that I've covered so far: a personal love and an impersonal love. The personal love would be more so, I love you, you love me. The impersonal love is more so, there is no me, there is no you, we are the same. Again, this concept is not so much taught in the East, sorry, in the West. This is more so of an Eastern philosophy. This is more so of loving holistically and not seeing the shortcomings of the physical side of the person, but more so understanding the true core essence of that person is the same true core essence of yourself. So you have more so of an impersonal love, not so much as a personal love. I love you because of your beauty. I love you because of your money. I love you because of this. I love you because of that. Again, this is what makes a non duality perspective totally different from a dualist perspective in reference to love as well.
True being. So again, when we come to this realization that there is no separation in the world and there is only the being, the one being, the consciousness, the awareness, then only then we can love ourselves and then we can see the world from a non-dualist perspective and we do not see otherness in the world. And that is why most individuals are unhappy in relationships because they see otherness in the world. And when we see the world from an otherness perspective, there will always be some type of disappointment. That is pretty much the way it is, and that is how it was designed. And so until this awareness comes, this understanding comes to light that there is no separation between the self, the true self, the I-ness, the beingness between you and I, there will always be conflict, which is also one of the root causes of the war and the suffering in the world today, because there's always someone believing that I am different than you, you are different than me. Because if we did have this oneness in our heart, there will never be, I would never rob from you, I would never steal from you, I would never do anything harmful to you, because I see myself as you, which is why the Bible also used the greatest commandment to love the neighbor as thyself, and love is the greatest commandment that gets, like I said again, God is love, love is God, consciousness is love, consciousness is God, awareness is love, awareness is God from a religious perspective. So again, love thy neighbor and as to love thyself is basically what I'm talking about. But you cannot love your neighbor as yourself if you do not know who you are. So again, that is one of the reasons why Bob Marley's video, One Love, if you look at that song is on the international level. You could go pretty much anywhere in the world and someone knows that song. You could go in the bush somewhere and sing One Love and they know Japan, wherever you talk about, they know One Love. Because the reason that song holds so much credence is because individuals usually, when they hear that song brings a sense of oneness to each individual, and that is why most individuals feel related to that song as well. So most individuals, every individual longs to be one again, longs to feel whole, longs to feel connected to each other. But however, because not knowing ourselves, it is near impossible. So which brings me to another point.
So, like I said again, the root cause of all of the battles, the wars, and the different things that we see going on in the world, throughout the world, throughout the ages, is because of separation. The concept of I see you as you, I see you as different, I see you as a challenge, a threat, and so forth and so forth. Because from a non-dualist perspective, if we were to see each other from a more so as a love thy neighbor as thyself perspective, we would not have the problems that we're having in the world today. And before as well, people would not be the way they are, because if they did have a more so loving others as they love themselves, or seeing others as they see themselves, majority 99.9% of the problems would go away. But we know that we do not live in a perfect world, and this is pretty much somewhat of a dream, if I may say. But however, this is what we're talking about. At least if more people saw each other from this perspective, not loving each other from a personal perspective, from a greed perspective, from a wanting perspective, from a need perspective, then then we uh, the world would be a different, totally different place. But that is not the case, because we do see each other separately. I see you have something, I want that. I see you look away, look a certain way, I do not look that way, and the list goes on and on, which also creates the desire. Like I said, the Buddha's root cause of suffering is desire and not knowing thyself. Because if you, the ultimate goal is having the desire to know who you are first and foremost, And when you do achieve that, then everything else would be secondary. But if the material things, and again, I'm not saying that there should be and no desire for material things or you should not want anything. I'm just simply saying if your priorities are incorrect and you're prioritizing the personal love, the personal things versus the things that are eternal, the isness, the I amness, the consciousness, the oneness. If you're prioritizing the things that are tangible and can just be destroyed, that is why the Bible also says, "Do not put up your treasures and do not place your treasures in corruptible things, things that can decay, things that can perish." And that's what we're talking about, the finding the true self, the non-perishable self, the isness, the I amness, the consciousness. That is what we're talking about, that self, the true self.
That is why, from even from a relationship perspective, when we see people, when we see individuals down who may seem to be physically attractive, we may see some people on the streets or wherever we may see them out and about. They may appear to be attractive physically or something like that, and we tend to be drawn more to these people. However, the reason is not so much is because they are physically fit. Yes, that is part of it. That is part of it. Yes, they may be pretty or handsome or whatever the case may be. That is one aspect of why we are attracted to these individuals. But on a subconscious level, we tend to see people who are fit, be it guys or girls who go to the gym and they put a lot of work and their dedication. We see that and we tend to be attracted to these individuals because on a subconscious level, we are not aware that that person is showing self-love. And when we see people that show self-love, whether we are aware of it or not, we tend to be attracted to that person. So it's not so much as the physical body. Yes, we are attracted to the body from an eye candy perspective. However, on a much deeper level, when we see that fit person who takes time to go to the gym with dedication and all those things, we tend to say, wow, this person really loves themselves. I wish I could love myself to that degree. This person looks whole. This person looks almost complete. And that is what we are truly attracted to. That is why, like I said again, if you did love your neighbors, and that's why the Bible said, do unto others whatever others do unto you. If you do see us, if you did see your neighbors as a part of you or as being you, you would not do the things that you do to them. But again, that is one of the reasons why there's war, like Bob Marley say, until the color of a man's skin and all of these other things, these dualistic perspective things change from our perspective. There will always be war. That is why when we see somebody and we hate on them for whatever reason, one reason or another, what I'm saying? We hate because we feel some type of separation. That is where racism comes from. All of these things is a feeling of separation when somebody does not look like us, sound like us, whatever the case may be. That is a feeling of separation, and we do not like separation by nature, but we might not be aware of why we dislike this race or this people or this the way someone looks. It's because we feel like this person does not really relate to us because they are separate from us. Again, that is because we are looking at the individuals from a dualistic perspective. But until we learn who we are, and again, that's going to be a next video that I'm going to create. Who am I? That is going to be one video that I'm going to talk about again to go into greater depths. But today we're specifically talking about love. So again, like I said, so until we see individual who as ourself, as the being, as the shared being, as from a non-dualist perspective, we cannot really truly experience love because when you understand to love somebody from an impersonal perspective, again, not loving the person but loving the being, you have no other choice than to love everyone. You see?
So, like I said also earlier, like I said very briefly a few minutes ago, a few seconds ago, like Bob Marley said, everywhere's war until we do not see any type of difference in the color of our skin, the color of our eyes, things of that sort. There will always be war. There will always be some type of situation going on in the world. And by no means am I political and not being political. I'm here talking about love. That's what I'm talking about here today is love. But however, at the same time, it is January, February, March the 28th of 2026, and we have a lot of this stuff going on in the world today. We have a lot of war going on. We have a lot of violence going on. We have a lot of self hatred, animosity. We have a lot of stuff going on in the world today. And however, I would say that the root cause of all of these issues that is occurring today originally came from some sort of prejudice, some sort of racism, some sort of differentiation, having a different perspective about who we are. Because if we so it's not so much as our leaders are making bad choices. Yes, that may be the case as well, but the root cause of it all was based on some type of discrimination, some type of racism, some type of I don't like the way you look, I don't like the color of your skin, I don't like how you are, so therefore I'm going to choose something else that may not, look like you, but the thing that you choose was literally far worse. Now everybody is going to pay the price. So the problem is not so much as the person per se that and we choose, but it's the root cause of us choosing that person was prejudiceness. And so we have to first address what caused us to choose the person. So we can't really cry and say, oh, this is happening, this is happening. It all happened because of your perspective. If you did not have that type of perspective about others, individuals, seeing others as being separate and different than you would have most likely made a better choice. But because of your lack of consciousness, only seeing the personal self, seeing the physical being, the physical person, we choose the the opposite. We at all costs we were willing to pick the most rotten apple out of the barrel because we were prejudiced. That is what is causing. That is the root cause of all of this. It's not because the person we pick is making bad decisions. That is secondary. That came after the prejudiceness. If we had two options, we had to choose between picking an apple. We had an option between choosing apple, fairly okay apple, and we had a choice to pick an apple or an orange that was maybe not so in good shape. Because again, I'm not here to speak anything political. That is not my forte. Because I'm talking about war. I'm talking about the root cause of it. So we had a choice to pick a okay apple or a orange that may have been, you know, had some issues, but because of us not relating to the apple, which may have been the better choice, we picked the orange that we thought was more similar to us, and the results that we're seeing today is not because of that orange decisions. It really came about because of our prejudice. So what we need to do is we need to don't cry and say, "Oh, this and that happened because of this, and this person is doing this, this orange is doing this, and this orange is doing." No, no, no. We need to look at the bigger picture. What caused us to be in this position today? What was our frame of mind when we made the decision to reject the apple for the orange? So therefore, it was our own prejudiceness that caused us to be in this position today. So until we look at the bigger picture and say, okay, it was because of this prejudiceness or whatever discrimination, whatever it was, we need to address that first and foremost because we will do it again. And we will put everybody else in jeopardy if we had a chance to do it again, if we do not realize it was because of our lack of awareness, our ignorance, our separation, our not having a non-dualist, a loving perspective. If we had more of a loving heart, open-mindedness, we would have not been in this position today. So we cannot just say, "Oh, the orange made bad decisions." No, we have to go deeper than that, and we have to look at the root cause is prejudiceness. That is where the war came from, and so now we are paying the repercussions from our prejudiced decisions. So we cannot cry and say the orange made these decisions. No, that's secondary. We need to look at our own personal decisions, our own personal actions, and realize that it was our own segregated minds which created these problems today. If we did not have this type of mentality about the separation of others, we would have made a better choice. We would have had an apple, and then we might have not had so much destruction going on today. So we cannot necessarily blame the orange for its decisions. We need to go deeper because we will do it again. And now the world is suffering because of us having our prejudiceness. That is what we need to look at. We need to look at why we rejected the apple and went on to picking the orange. That is what I'm saying to you guys. And so this is what Bob Marley is saying. This is what the Buddhists are saying. This is what the Hindu is saying. The root cause of all suffering and degradation in the world today, the root cause is separation, not knowing who you are. And if we did know who we are, we would not be in this position today. If we did see each and every individual as equal, we would not have been in this individual, in this world, in this predicament today. So now the world will pay because of our ignorance and our prejudiceness. The world will pay. This will be something, this our prejudiceness will change the world. So we need to first and foremost not ignore our decisions and why we made our decisions, because if we don't come to the conclusion why we made our false decision or the wrong decisions, if we have a next opportunity, we will do it again and make the same mistakes again. So I don't want to even, I'm not even crying about any spilled milk or what's happening or what's going to happen or whatever. I just need individuals to be able to at least acknowledge why they did what they did. So again, this is not any political channel or anything of the sort. This is just something that came to mind after talking about this particular subject matter.
So that is a lot different when you love from a dualist perspective. Individuals will say, "Oh, I don't love you, I don't love you," and I because we see people from a separate perspective. But when we understand there is no, when we see the world from a no otherness in the world, we have no other choice than to love everyone, the criminal, the killer, whoever the case may be. You have to love them as well because you're not looking at the person, you're not loving the person again. We are loving the shared being of that person because you and that criminal and I have the same, we share the same spirit, we share the same air, we share the same divinity. It's just appearance of the parents to be separate, and that's what we understand that we love. But again, do not misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm not saying that I like what the criminals or the killers do. I'm not saying that I like when somebody does robbery or whatever the case may be. I am saying that I have to love that person no matter what because I do not see that individual from a separate self perspective. And this concept is very different from the West. Again, this is a pure non-dualistic perspective from an Advaita Vedanta perspective. Again, that is why I am creating this video.
And like I said, also again, this is a very different perspective on love because when we look at the individuals holistically from an I amness perspective, we are not loving the person per se. We are loving what they truly are, that the flawless self, the isness, the I amness, the oneness, the consciousness that the person truly is. That is what we're trying to find out. That is what we're trying to find in that person. That is what we're trying to see in that person. That is what we're actually looking at. So when we look at individuals from that perspective, we have no other choice than to love everyone. The criminals, the bad guys, the whoever the case may be, because we know underneath that behavior, that action is a flawless, impeccable being, isness, not separate from you. It's just that that individual is perceiving him or herself to be separate, behaving in some type of unnatural behavior according to some different behavior other than what they truly are, which is peace and love and so forth and so on. So we have this, when we see the world from this perspective and we see others from this perspective, we tend to, our hatred will be reduced, our animosity towards others will be reduced, our prejudice will be reduced towards each other because we would now see them more so as being just like us, and there is no separation from us and them. From a non dualist perspective, we are them and they are us, just being appearing to be separate entities. But again, like I said, this is more so deep esoteric spiritual knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. This is not just traditional, you know, Western traditional I love you, you love me, we are separate, and you are you and I am me. This is not that. This is a very deep, deep concept. And so just let me just, I'll just go on before I go any further with that.
Because I could not go into the depths to give this person a clear understanding without going into much elaboration and so forth and so forth. So again, like for example, the individual was asking me more than one question, a bunch of philosophical questions that was kind of challenging for me to just go right out and answer without having the proper foundation that this person needs to understand how I see the world from a dualist, from a non-dualist perspective, how I see the world and how I see individuals, and only then would be able to answer this individual. But I tried my best to answer, without having the proper foundation established. But I did my very best. And again, this without the foundation, it was very impossible for me to go into great details like I'm doing right now. So again, so that is why I'm creating this video, to go into much, much more detail to get individuals to understand the difference of what they would call an impersonal love versus a personal love. So again, personal love is when we see the person, we love the person, and we love objects, we love the characteristics of the person, we love the physical things of the person, but we are not so much as seeing ourselves as being one with that person. And when we come to that understanding, only then we can love somebody unconditionally. That is why the Bible says God loves unconditionally. So consciousness, awareness also loves unconditionally. And because consciousness, by the definition, like I said, is no separation, no otherness. So therefore, and the definition of love is to see the world without otherness. And the definition of consciousness.
So the definition, I know I talked all of that talk just to get to this point. I just wanted to get some type of understanding, something going on. The definition, according to the Veda, Vedanta, the Buddhists, and the Hindus and so forth, is to see no separation, no otherness. That is a completely different definition of love from what we have been told. Love from a Western perspective is I see you and I'm trying to help you. I love you, and a pure separation. That is what the West believes to be love. I am doing something for you. I am helping you. I am buying you something. And the list goes on and on and on. All physical things. But from a non dualist perspective, the word love means to see no otherness separate from yourself. So, from this perspective or from this definition, I would say many of us have never heard this definition, nor many of us do not love in this manner. That is why, for those, I know it took a long time to get to this point, but hey, I had to build some type of foundation. But again, that is my point. The definition of love from a non dualist perspective is to see no otherness, no separation from self. So if you are seeing others separate, I love you, my mom, my brother, my cousin, my sister, my girlfriend, my cat, my dog, whatever it is that you're loving other than yourself, you are loving from a dualist perspective, not a non dualist perspective. That is why I said, yes, I had to talk 10 days to get to this point, but however, that is what I am talking about. A non dualist perspective, that is a huge difference from what we are familiar with.
and awareness is oneness. So consciousness is love, awareness is love. So also, like I was saying, most individuals do not understand that they are sharing the same being. So we tend to treat each individual with hostility and other things of that nature as well. Which brings me to another point. That is why they say blood is thicker than water. Because again, the reason we love some people more than others is because
Something else I did overlook something that I think that I should go over very briefly. Like I said earlier, when we do see people who who may appear to be attractive, some individuals may be appearing to be more physically fit than others. Some individuals may be dedicated. They look like they go to the gym. They have, have a very nice physique, very dedicated. So we tend to naturally be attracted to these individuals naturally. And however, from a non-dualist perspective, most of us would say that we love this person based on their body, how they, the shape of their, how their legs or whatever it may be, something about them, because they put in a lot of work physically. That is what we tend to love about that person at first glance. But from a non-dualist perspective, what we fail to realize is that the majority of the main reason we love these people the way we do love them is because we see that they have such a strong self love for themselves, and we admire anyone who have a self love because so many cases, we desire to have a strong self love for ourselves. So when we do see individuals who are in shape and putting in dedication in the diet and running and jogging and exercising and going to the gym 3, 4, 5, 6 days a week, and whatever the case may be, we subconsciously are not aware that it is not so much the physical aspect that we are admiring in that person. We are subconsciously admiring the self love that that person has for themselves, and we sometimes wish that we were disciplined and we have that self love for ourselves as well. So that's something that I did did not comment on, but it just came to my mind just now.
we are more personally connected to those individuals rather than others. So, for example, you might be connected to your friend. I'm just making these numbers up. So, you could have one individual who is a friend. And again, I'm just making these numbers up. I'm not, these numbers are not, I'm just giving you an idea of why we feel the way we feel. You might love a friend 10%. And then you might love uh, your girlfriend or your boyfriend 20%, and then you might love your wife, or your husband 40%. Then you might love your mother or your father. I'm just making these numbers up, 70%, and then you might love your kids 100%. I'm just saying that the reason that is because we feel a closeness. Once the more closer we feel to an individual, the more most likely we will love that individual because what we are feeling is we're not being attracted or we're not loving that person. We love the feeling of the oneness when we are with that person because when we become involved in a relationship or when we become involved in some type of romantic love or whatever the case may be, the separation tends to collapse. And that is what we are falling in love with. We are falling in love with the feeling of being one with somebody, which is our true nature. However, we tend to go and we do drugs and we do other things, trying to come to that place of oneness. But again, those are all separate objects. And that is which is also why, like I said, you are not necessarily in love in the relationship. You are not in love with a person from a non-dualistic perspective, from a Advaita Vedantic perspective, that you are in love with the being of that person, not with the person itself. That is why, again, from an Advaita Vedantic perspective, from a non-dualist perspective, you have to love everyone because it comes automatically if you do not see a separation between you and that individual as well. So, like I said earlier, we are not in love with the person, we are in love with the shared being of that person because we share the same air, we share the same breath, we share the same everything. And that is what I am talking about here today. So I will guarantee you, if you get a grasp on what I'm saying, if you go into a relationship seeking love before this transformation has transpired within yourself, to love yourself first, to know yourself first, it is most likely that you will be disappointed because you will actually put your love into something that does not have the ability to contain or sustain your true happiness. And again, so once you give your love to something externally outside of yourself, the possibilities are almost 110% that you will actually come to some sort of disappointing realization because you have falsely loved something that cannot be loved. The only thing could be loved is the understanding of this consciousness, this awareness, this no otherness, because that itself is love by nature. So again,
So very, very powerful concept again. Very, very powerful concept. I don't want to just run over that and just ignore that, because I said something also. I said that we tend to, like they say, blood is thicker than water, because what happens is we tend to love individuals that are more closest to us, family wise, relative wise. We tend to love these people more than we love outsiders. We love our we might love our friend at a certain level, and then we love our cousin even more, and then we love our sister even more, and then we might love, sorry, we may love our friend at a particular level, and then we might love our cousin at a certain level, then we might love our aunts and our uncles at a certain level, and then we may love our brothers and sisters even more than our aunts and our cousins and friends, and then we may love our mom and dad at a certain level even higher than many of our friends and so forth, and then we will love our kids even more. So the moral of the story is, the more closer individuals are to us, the more we tend to love those individuals, because we tend to feel more of a oneness and a closeness to that individual. So it's not that we really love the person per se, it's that because we believe the person is related to us blood wise, subconsciously again, we are in love with the concept of non-duality. We are more in love with the person, with the idea of someone being close to us as being a part of us. And so anytime we try to seek love from relationships and different things and so forth, we are not really falling in love with the person per se. We are falling in love with the feeling of non-duality. We are falling in love with the feeling of there being no separation between our girlfriend, our boyfriend, our husband, and our wife. That is what we are really falling in love with from a non dualist perspective. Two individuals coming closer and closer and closer and becoming more like one. Over a period of time, you may have started out loving that person because of physical characteristics, physical traits, and then over a period of time, you may end up disliking that person because they might have a bad attitude or whatever the case may be, negative personality. And then some individuals, you may not have actually was not necessarily attracted to that person physically, and over a period of time when you got to know that person, you got closer with that person, you started to love that person on a much more deeper level as well. So that is what I'm talking about. We tend to love each other, the more we feel, the closer we feel to that person, the oneness that we feel to that person, that is what we're falling in love with. So when people are nice to us and kind to us, and people are giving us things and doing things for us, we are not necessarily falling in love with the doing action of what they're doing. Yes, we may love that per se, but on a subconscious level, we are falling in love with the oneness that that person loves us so much that they are sacrificing themselves for us, and they're seeing themselves as us, and that is what we're technically falling in love with.
and trying to find love outside of the self, outside of this oneness, this otherness, you going outside looking to this otherness, it is pretty much inevitable that there will be failure. And yes, some people pull it off for years and years and years because they've learned to believe that that's the way it is, and that is what humans do. We fight it out, we stick it out, and so forth and so forth. So if you are trying to love somebody from that perspective, your greatest chance of having a more healthy relationship, a more holistic and healing and happy relationship, is to try and love that person from a being level, because that way, when the person physical objects, objective traits change, such as looks, uh, different things, material things, money, and different resources. When these things change, when the situationship changes, you would still be you would still be in love with the being, because the being never changes. The body changes, the mind changes, the thoughts changes, the feelings changes, everything changes, but the being. So again, what is love? The love that I'm talking about today is to see no otherness, to see no separation in the world. And
So again, the definition of a non-dualist perspective of love is to see no otherness and no separation in the world. So if you're seeing people as being separate, you, me, this, that, dog, cat, rat, you are not loving from a non-dualist perspective. That is why I said this concept of love will be a very unique and very different concept, different from what most individuals may have been told, what most individuals may have been taught. I guarantee you, most individuals have never heard that concept or that perspective of love before. Most of us see love as being kind, being caring, sharing, and all of these physical attributes, these doing, these verbs. That is what we see love as. But however, from a non-dualist perspective, this love that I'm talking bit about is more so of a being aspect, a non-separation aspect. You, there not being any separation from you, the bad guy, the good guy, the criminal, the thief, the lawyer, the doctor, the carpenter. This is a completely different perspective on love. That is why I said I had to build some type of foundation establishment to go through or build some establish some type of ground before I just laid the I had to lay the foundation down to get to this very point. So if you are not loving each individual, you're seeing your wife and your husband and your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your children are separate from you, you are still loving from a dualistic perspective and not a non-dualist perspective.
again, the only way this could be achieved is to be achieved through understanding one's true nature and one's true self through self inquiry, which also is another understanding that is very difficult for most individuals to understand, is that all feelings and emotions are actually different manifestations of this one love that I'm talking about. They are just manifestations, uh, feelings of anger, hatred, what it is, just from the law of polarity. We're talking about uh, just feelings and emotions being on one side of the scale. You have love on the positive side, and then you have hatred on the other side. But those are all interconnected to this one source of love. Again, all feelings and emotions are different manifestations of love. However, the cause of the negative sides coming into existence is because of separation. We get angry because we feel someone did something to me. Again, separation. And the magnitude of that separation, that hurt, that anger is going to depend on what the person does or whatever the case may be. But you will see the pattern in all of these emotions. The negative emotions stem from a feeling of separation. And so when somebody makes you angry, you say that this person made me angry because this person did this or that. When you feel sad because this person did this or that person did that to me. This person said this or said that to me. Again, separation. When you feel happy, it is because you feel more oneness with that individual. There's a more feeling of unity with that individual. You feel more connected to that individual. So the more connected you feel, the more oneness you feel, the more by nature you will feel happy. Happy. So again, from a law of polarity perspective, all feelings, the more negative the feeling, the more separated you feel from that person. Anger, the more hate you feel. This person made me, I hate this person, because again, you feel separated from that person, which is why we have racism, prejudice, and all these other things, because we do not see each other as the same being. We see this person as being this color, this race, this creed, or things of that nature, like Bob Marley said, until we don't see the color of our eye and all that stuff, there's going to be war. And that is correct. And that is what I'm
And like I said again, like I said, Bob Marley said, until we do not see the color of our eye and the color of our skin and all that stuff, there will be war. And so today, again, March the 28th of 2026, the reason why we're having these conflicts is because we did originally see a difference in color of skin. We did see a difference of color in eye. We did see a difference in color of sex. And so what we did was, because we did not like what we saw, the difference in color and skin and eye color, we choose someone or something that we could relate to, that we thought was relatable. However, we realized that we were incorrect. So, like I said, until we come to realize why we chose what we chose or who we chose, we will always have war, because we will always be seeing someone as being separate or different from us. There could be the perfect person for us out there, who have our best interests at heart, but we cannot see it, so we will go and pick the wrong choice because we see the separation only. We see the difference only in that person. That is what I'm talking about. That is what Bob Marley said. Tell me, do not see the color of the separation, the difference of the color of our eye and the difference of the color of our skin. There will be war. And that is exactly what the root cause of this war is all about. We saw a difference in separation of a color of somebody's skin. We saw a difference in the separation, a difference in the color of somebody's eye. We saw a difference in the color and a separation of somebody's sex, gender, and we chose what we felt was more relatable, but what we felt was more relatable created more problems. So again, we have to first and foremost do not blame the outcome of the choice. We have to blame ourselves, because we have to look at why we choose this particular choice, why we pick this particular person. And when we break it down, the root cause of it was racism and prejudiceness. And because we did not see ourselves as being the same as the individuals that we rejected, that is why the Bible says the builders reject the cornerstone, and that is what the masses did. So this our decisions was not made on one person made one decision. The masses made these decisions, which further revealed that the masses have this separation in their vision. The masses see the world from separation. The masses see the world from them versus you. You versus them and us and they. That is what the masses, so what the conclusion that the masses came to is a reflection of that separation perspective, that separation mentality, that non love perspective, that duality perspective, and the repercussions, what we are seeing and experiencing throughout the world, is at the root cause of that separate belief system. That is what we need to address first and foremost before we go and blame anybody else for their decisions. We shall not blame, we cannot blame the orange for its decisions. We first have to look at why did we choose the orange. And if we look deep down with deep introspection and deep honesty, we would say that it was because we saw a separation in the options. We saw a difference in the options. And so, therefore, we choose what we thought was more like us, but we were actually incorrect. Now, again, like I said, the world will pay for our decisions. Our kids will pay for our decisions. Our kids, kids. The world will never be the same because of your prejudice and your racism. So, do I feel sorry? No, not one bit. I am looking at this as an opportunity for the judgment to fall and be played out. And so, therefore, we would do some deep self introspection to understand why we did what we did so we do not make that decision ever again. Look within ourselves and see why we did what we did, why we chose what we chose, and be honest with ourselves and say, wow, I really did this because of this. I did this because I felt there was a separation. I felt there was a segregation. I felt this person was different than I was. And now we all are paying the price, and that is the repercussions. This, what we are seeing in the world today, is a mirror of all of the collective minds. The masses, the majority, have ruled, and now we are paying the price because of the majority's decision. There is no time to be sorry and woe me and woe that and woe he and woe sorry and I made a mistake. No, you did what you wanted to do, and that is what it is. And now the world is gonna deliver it. I only hope that most individuals who did make these choices do some deep introspection and come to the conclusion that, hey, I fucked up. And I fucked up only because I was racist or I was a prejudice. And I think I need to overcome that because now everyone is going to pay for my ignorance.
I'm saying is that is what I'm talking about today. So again, all feelings when you have that hatred is because you do not see the being, the shared being of yourself in that person. You see that person as a separate being. So you therefore you could kill that person, you could rob that person, you could harm that person because you do not feel that that person is connected to you in any way, shape, or form. However, if you did feel a connection with that person, I could guarantee you that you would not rob your neighbors, you would not steal, you would not kill, you would not harm anyone. That is why, again, just as Joshua, Jesus said, to love thy neighbor as to love thyself, the greatest commandment is love. And that is a fact. So, but the only way we could love our neighbors as ourselves is until we come to love ourselves. And the only way we could love ourselves again is that we see no separation from the self and another. So again, hatred, anger, any negative emotion you could feel, we could trace that all back to being separate. I am mad at you, you are mad at me. Again, separation. I am happy with you. Happy is also separated, but again, it goes on a spectrum more on the love side than the negative side. Again, all emotions are all manifestations of this one love, this one consciousness, this one awareness that everything appears in. Awareness, everything appears in awareness. You are the awareness. You are the awareness of the things that is being aware. You are the consciousness being that is conscious of the things that you are conscious of. Consciousness, when we do the self inquiry, self evaluation, we go back and we will trace things back to the original self, the I-ness, the amness, the beingness of the self, and we cannot go any further. So I will make another video about that at some other time. But I think for the most part, I think we are starting to understand when we talk about love from a dualistic perspective. I love you, you love me. That is somewhat, again, that is more of a personal love. I am talking about an impersonal love, meaning that you love everyone because you are a shared being with everyone. But again, that understanding is not just going to drop out of the sky. That understanding has to be found. You can experience, you cannot find love. You are love. You have to be loved in order to love someone in return. You don't have to look for nothing outside of you because everything is inside of you. You are no thing, but you are not nothing. You are nothing, but you are something. You are not nothing, but you are also everything. Again, I will also make a video again about this. Who am I?
So, like I said as well, if you're looking outside of the self, trying to find love, you are making a very grave mistake, first and foremost, without knowing who you are, first and foremost. Because if you are looking for love and not knowing who you are, you will always be disappointed. Like I said, individuals who do not have an idea who they are and they see separation in each other, we tend to have the ability to harm others. We will steal from others. We will take from others. We will kill others as well. We do not care because we do not see that person as a part of us. If we did see someone as being similar to us in any shape or form, as a close relative or someone, a close friend, we don't necessarily do things to individuals that we think are close to us that we love. We do only these harmful things to individuals that we think is not the same as us. And again, because of our decisions, when we had an option before these conflicts today, we did not see that the options as being equal. We saw one option as being far less, and so therefore again we do not attract what we want, we attract who we are. So what we are seeing in the world today, all of the wars and all of the conflicts and all of the killing and destruction, is simply a mirror of the collective consciousness. We are seeing a mirror of the masses, what's going on. So what we are seeing is a reflection of what most individuals feel inside. We see the things we are seeing is simply a reflection of the self hatred, the separation, the anger, and the whatever differences we have inside ourselves towards each other. We are now seeing the big picture being played out on the world screen. So everything that we see is again a reflection, a mirror of what the masses feel. So the world is giving us again a reflection. It does not have the, we don't have the hide. We could hide as much as we want. We could hide our anger as much as we want. We could hide our prejudice as much as we want. We could hide our racism as much as we want. We could hide all of these things from each other, but the world itself will reflect what is going on from within. Because if there was more love, if there was more cohesion, if there was more coercion, if there was more cooperation, if there was more unity, we definitely would see more peace, love, and joy in the world today. So therefore, what we are seeing is an actual reflection of the reality that most of us feel inside.
Greater details. But I think, like I said again, we look at love from an impersonal perspective, and we also look at love from a personal perspective, impersonal and personal, dualistic, non-dualistic. And when we look at love from an impersonal perspective, we see that there's no separation from self, and that is the only way that we can find true happiness. And if we continue to look elsewhere and we continue to look outside of the self, we will always be disappointed. We will also always feel some type of separation from the other.
Oh.